Hi everyone, I'm Vanessa Ruers and I will be giving a presentation today on integrated curriculum. While you are waiting for this presentation to start, please grab a treat, mingle with one another as we wait to begin. At your tables, you will find all materials that you will need today once you find a seat. When you do go to your table, grab an index card and please write down one fact that no one would know about you. Getting to know you activities is an example for the start of the school year, collecting facts and trying to guess whose fact it is. It will just be a way for us to get to know one another a little bit more and how you could also get your students to know one another. Today you will learn all about what an integrated curriculum is and how we can implement different strategies in our classrooms to become more integrated with our own curriculum. You will also learn about the benefits of using these different strategies, which will ultimately lead to less student behaviors and a more engaging classroom environment and school culture. Let's just start with some expectations for today's professional development. Please be open to new ideas. I know many of you have been teaching for many years already and can be set in what works for you, but try to have an open mind today. Please share your own ideas if you have any, and if you're already integrating curriculum into your own classroom. And lastly, do not hesitate to ask any questions that you may have that pop up. Here are our learning objectives for today's session. I will give you a minute to read them over, and please let me know if you have any questions afterwards. So let's get into our session for the day. Why integrated curriculum, and why should we use an integrated learning system? Our students should be provided with curriculum and content that is challenging, rigorous, but also engaging for them. An integrated curriculum gives students the opportunities to make real-life connections to real-world experiences and connections to their other content classes as well. In doing so, students become more engaged in their learning. Integrated learning can also mean including different activities and hands-on activities for students. And having this integration will hopefully lead to higher academic success, less behavior issues since students are more engaged in their learning, and overall a trusting learning environment where students feel safe sharing responses and collaborating with their peers. This topic today may be brand new for some of you, so it's important that we remember to take risks. This may be uncomfortable, starting something new, but we have to try for our students. How many of you have ever made a mistake before when teaching or instructing? I know I certainly have. And what did you do? I would allow for share outs during this time. Trying something new to benefit our students will help prepare them with real life skills needed in the 21st century and out in the real world. And I'm going to help you do so by integrating new ideas into your current curriculum. It is not about creating a brand new curriculum, but just simply implementing new strategies and ideas into what curriculum we already are using. There are different ways and approaches to an integrated curriculum, and these can sometimes be confusing because each of these overlap in some way or another. The first approach is a multidisciplinary approach, and that's where teachers focus on a common theme or topic within their lessons. An example, a team may focus on a real-world issue as a theme, and then each core teacher will teach a lesson in their subject area based on that common theme. The next approach is interdisciplinary, and this is where teams focus on collaborating across disciplines to encourage students to make connections between their academic classes. This could look like one lesson in math class integrating history into a math problem for the day, or teachers could create longer units that connect to one another as well. This approach is usually the most common and easiest way to integrate across curriculums. And the last approach is transdisciplinary, which tends to be the most difficult to achieve. This approach means that team teachers are teaching a cohesive curriculum across all disciplines. Today, we're going to put our focus on an interdisciplinary approach to see how we can create smaller but achievable connections for students to make between their classes. Of the three approaches that we just talked about of an integrated curriculum, which, if any, do you think you are already implementing in your classroom? Turn and talk with someone next to you and share an example. I will give you 2 minutes for this. Turn-in talks are a great way to provide peer collaboration and also increase student engagement in the classroom. Turn talks also reduce the stress of having to talk out loud to a class or participate, but also give you as the teacher the opportunity to hear responses from all of your students. This is a strategy that you can implement, which will lead to a positive classroom environment and build trust within your classroom as well. It also gives students a chance to have a quick break from the direct instruction. Another approach to integration is implementing technology into lessons and activities. Doing so will help support 21st century skills and help increase student engagement as well. You do not need to necessarily integrate other disciplines such as history or math into your current curriculum, but you can bring real-life experiences of your own into the classroom and help students make real-life connections so that way they understand the importance of their learning. Connecting curriculum to student interests and hobbies such as sports always helps increase student engagement as well. All of these types of strategies will lead to a trusting environment where students can make connections and feel safe sharing their responses. Remember, integration will look different for each individual teacher and each individual classroom. Now that we've talked a little bit about what an integrated curriculum can look like and some strategies that we can use, it is time for a brain break. These quick 1 to 3 minute brain breaks are just ways of decreasing student behaviors and creating a more positive classroom environment as well. I tend to give students a brain break a few times throughout my class, especially after direct instruction or between transitioning into different small groups or independent practice. Research actually shows that brain breaks reset energy levels and improve students' ability to continue their focus, which overall will keep them engaged in their learning. Here is an example you can use in class, which my 7th graders absolutely love, and it's about a 3-minute brain break. Now that you have seen just one example of a brain break, and we have determined that brain breaks can increase student engagement and also decrease off-task behavior, decrease student behaviors, we're going to determine the focus of today's session. Our focus as a school will be to construct a plan to decrease our student behaviors and our office referrals. Our current monthly data shows that student behaviors, office detention referrals, ODRs, have continued to increase month to month, aside from December. We started with only 8 referrals in the month of August, which granted was a 2-week month, but we have now increased to 127 referrals in the month of January. December is usually a month with less behaviors, as you can see that it kind of went down in December. But we have our Spirit Week and we have our Christmas break in December, so that tends to be a lower month of referrals anyways. But overall, our office detention referrals are increasing each month. Here's just another breakdown of our office detention referrals by grade level for each month. As the data shows, 5th and 7th grade have consistently gone up each month in student behavior referrals, again with the exception of December, as we spoke about. So I am proposing that we create a plan to implement different types of strategies in our classrooms to increase student engagement in the hopes of creating a more positive classroom environment and a positive school culture, ultimately leading to decreased behaviors overall. The PDCA cycle, it's called the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle, is a type of process that is used for identifying a problem and coming up with a solution which can continuously improve student behavior in this case and our classroom environment and school culture. We are already doing the data collection each month for office detention referrals, but as teachers, we would each make it a goal to implement one new strategy in our classroom from today's session, a brain break, some type of integrated discipline. We'll talk more about those. And also collect data on one particular student who tends to misbehave, and we'll collect this data for a 2-week span, which will be our next Monday staff meeting. After these 2 weeks of collecting data and implementing this new strategy, we will look at our data as a team and determine if we need a new plan or if we need to modify our current plan to continue to see improvements in our student behaviors. Here is a scenario of collecting data on a student, and this is actually a real example from my classroom after I chose to implement different brain breaks and also chose to implement history into some of my math problems after collaborating with the history teacher because I knew the student's favorite class was history. So in this scenario, I will call this student student A just for the purpose of privacy. So as you can see, in week 1, this student was continuously throwing his papers on the floor, not following along in the lesson, and just putting their head down, not wanting to even engage in the lesson. After implementing these brain breaks and history into some of my math problems in week 2, I started to notice that this student was keeping their paper on their desk and kind of following along a little bit. Week 3, this student actually began to write some notes and actually raised his hand one time to give an answer on his own. Today, currently, this student was writing most of their notes on their own and following along in the lesson. Now, granted, this student was not writing all of their notes. They were not always doing all of their work, but you can see the improvements that were made just from week 1 from implementing and integrating these strategies into the current curriculum that I already have. So the rationale for this plan is in the data that we collect each month. We can see that behaviors are increasing each month at our school, and they are impacting learning environments and our overall school culture. Why are these behaviors increasing? Well, students need to be engaged in their learning, and they need to be given the time for their brains to reset, such as brain breaks, hands-on activities, turn-in talks, all of these strategies that we will brainstorm together. Students also lack problem-solving skills and perseverance. We need to give these students the support to enhance these skills by creating rigorous lessons and activities, and also making real-world connections to their learning so that they see the importance of their learning day to day. So what are our next steps as a school? We need to begin work on implementing an integrated curriculum, and we'll do so in grade level teams once a week when we already meet. Now remember, this does not mean you must be teaching history or science in your math class. This could simply be creating a math problem which involves students finding the volume of the Eiffel Tower because they are studying France in history class. This is just one example of how to integrate curriculum. This can mean implementing strategies such as brain breaks, fidgets, or music into the classroom to allow students to reset their brains. We will continue to analyze data for our future steps based on new data that is collected in our 2-week span. Today, our action steps are to share examples that we are already using and which are already working for us in the shared document that I have provided for you. We will take 10 minutes to work in our groups to add in some examples, and then each group will share an example out loud. After sharing out and spending 10 minutes in groups, I want each of you to think of one student in particular that you will focus on for the next 2 weeks and one new strategy you will implement into your classroom. It is important for us as educators to implement best practices for our students to increase student engagement, increase their problem-solving skills, and hopefully overall decrease student behaviors, which will lead to a positive culture in our school and community and positive classroom environments. We will continue to work towards these practices as a team. I hope you enjoyed this session. Please complete this feedback form so we can continue to grow as a school. Thank you for participating today. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I have left my email there for you. And again, please reach out if you have any questions and provide any feedback you think will be relevant to our school as a team.